Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran. Today's video is going to be a little bit more casual. Today I want to talk about the Outlaw Rogue buff that everybody's excited about, the Shadow Priest nerf and the Affliction Warlock nerf, as well as the nerf to heirlooms. This video is going to be a little bit more casual because yesterday was my mom's birthday. I spent time with her. I spent 0 time editing videos, 0 time really recording, and 0 time doing any kind of homework on any of the other updates. So before I go in just talking about things I do not fully comprehend, I just don't want to do that. I'd rather talk about things that I do understand, like buffs and nerfs, as well as the heirloom change, because I got to experience the leveling experience on the PTR. After I do some more homework, I can probably do a video discussion on anything else in particular, like the new battleground that's coming out in patch 7.35, or maybe a bit more about the leveling and Iron Man experience, or overall some of the community feedback. But anyway, let's talk about that 4% Outlaw Rogue buff. I don't know if I want to say that this is a good buff or a bad buff, but a lot of you guys already went to the comments asking me, hey Dal, 4%, Outlaw is already viable, rank 1 for PvP all of a sudden. I would hold my horses. I would say for PvP, this buff is very, very little. It's more a PvE based buff. PvP, I feel like, let me explain it for a second in terms of PvE. In PvE, this is a sizable buff. Outlaw is kind of in the mid tier, and this is going to put you a little bit ahead. If you're playing Outlaw with best slot gear, you can actually have some competitive damage in cleave situations, AoE situations, and single target. So this combined together with a 2-piece and 4-piece bonus for PvE, it's going to be great for Outlaw. You're going to do more damage, and if you understand the spec and you get your rotation properly, and you can play around with the buff mechanic, or if you have the proper build to play a slice and dice build, you can actually do a lot of damage here, and you can be off just fine. But for PvP, I doubt this is going to be much of a difference, mainly because for PvP, it's all about item level, so every rogue is going to have slightly different experience. Maybe in PvP, you might see a situation where you're getting a lot of saber slash procs back to back, that 4% really starts to stack up. That's where we might see some of that increase. I don't think it'll be too much of an increase in a burst rotation because, for example, let's say your run through hits for 800k. That 4% extra, I didn't do the math on 4%, but if 5% is like 40k on top of it, 840k or 800k doesn't make that much of a difference. In a long run, as you keep hitting enemy back to back with run through, that's slightly more damage that stacks up. But in the long run, I don't think it's going to make us too strong for PvP. What I'm trying to say with Outlaw is, in PvP, if you didn't enjoy it up until now, this 4% buff is most likely not going to change for you. But if you've been playing Outlaw for a while, and you have been playing it for PvP primarily, this 4% buff is going to feel slightly nice, but most people won't even see the difference. We got a pretty big nerf for Shadow Priest on Vampiric Touch and Shadow Ward Pain, reduced by 12%, which they kind of needed to in some of the cleave situations for the new raid. But for PvP, this is going to be kind of a punch in the gut. All other abilities increased by 3%. I don't really know how that's going to work out for PvP. Maybe it'll offer some viability for new builds, but majority of Shadow Priest damage is dot based. That 4% that they got recently to opt in for a little bit more bursty AoE damage, mostly a PvE change again, kind of a PvE change that's messing with PvP. This Vampiric Touch build and damage of other abilities by 3% is gonna feel really, really weird, primarily for PvP. We also have Affliction Warlocks that again hit Corruption and Agony take a 6% nerf. Unstable Affliction takes a 4%, again a PvE change that's affecting PvP. I don't think most of these changes are gonna make through. Maybe the Outlaw one will, but I think there's gonna be something about Shadow Priest and Affliction Warlocks for PvP this Tuesday. As you're watching the video, probably some kind of an update happened by now. So I would check in on MMO Champion or Wowhead, or just check on World of Warcraft website forums if you're so interested. Alright, now let's talk a bit about the heirloom changes in the next patch, BTR, and I hope these changes follow through. There is a bit of a pushback, and completely understandable. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to take one side or the other in terms of, well, I guess I am, because I have my own feelings about it. But there's two sides to the heirloom nerf. So they want to nerf just how strong heirloom gear is on PTR. Blizzard still wants the gear to make the experience of questing a little bit faster in terms of giving you more experience, but they also are buffing how much experience you need in order to level up, instead of it being kind of low bar up until, you know, actual endgame content where it's like, from vanilla, BC, Wrath is just super low, and then when you get to Legion, it just makes a huge jump, and now you actually have to do a lot of the content, and you know, it becomes a little bit different in consistency. It just allows a lot of players to be able to cheese some of the dungeons, like be able to run through the very first dungeon Alliance and Horde get as a 15. I don't know them by heart, I don't know them by name exactly, but the one that's Molten, the one that got revamped for Horde, literally the one in Orgrimmar, yeah, a lot of people can get like 2-3 levels out of it if they have all of their heirlooms as soon as they get to level 15. Hell, some people can even go in there before level 15 and just start leveling there. It kind of takes away the experience, and the idea behind heirlooms and nerfing them is to allow players to spend more time in these zones, allow to, I guess, rejuvenate these zones and give leveling an importance again. And some people are saying that's not really exactly what they want. There's an argument against this, and it's not the one I share, but still, it's a valid argument. A lot of people are saying that part of getting heirloom gear set up is it feeling a lot like a veteran reward. You're a veteran, you've been playing the game for a while, you farmed the heirloom gear with justice points, honor points if you played back in the day, or if you farmed it with gold, which is the current system, and you upgrade them to full, you should be able to level faster, kill mobs faster. This is very menial content. It shouldn't really have this impeding effect to you. That's what some people are saying, which is a valid point. Some people just love, spending time grinding ults. Sometimes, time is money. Some people just don't have too much time to level a lot of tunes. So it's really just your basic argument that I guess a lot of people would expect when it comes to nerfing how effective heirloom is in terms of gear, in terms of the stats, in terms of damage that you provide, or I guess healing or tankiness. But when you nerf heirloom and you make us play the game a little bit more in terms of questing and make us go to do every quest in the area, explore more quests, even explore some quests some people just never have done, because not everybody played back in vanilla where you actually had to do every single quest if you wanted to level up. I feel like it just gives you a little bit of a sense of wonder, sense of excitement, sense of, oh, this is so cool, I never knew there was this storyline or this area or this NPC over here or this experience in this zone. You might play the zones through again and you might get a complete different experience depending on which quest you choose, which quests you play. I think it will allow people to spend more time playing their character instead of being the kind of person that needs to kind of force themselves to be immersed into WoW, in terms of, I guess, turning off all the other things on your monitors if you have more than one monitor and just focusing on the game, turning on in-game music and just focusing, maybe even trying to take off pieces of gear or playing Iron Man style, so it starts to feel challenging and kind of difficult, and where you pull more than one mob, you actually have to start making strategic decisions of how you want to approach the situation. Should you use cooldowns? Should you use items in your bags? Should you use defenses? Maybe you should run because it seems like a bad situation that you can't really get out of. I feel like a lot of those options and questions just don't really come into play in everyday World of Warcraft experience. And for the game to make questing a little bit harder, a little bit more challenging, a little bit more immersive, I think it's probably the best way of going about it. If you just can get the game to naturally be immersive instead of, I guess, giving a player an option to play as an immersive play style, I think it's a lot better. And I think it's good for the health of the game, especially continuation of it. It's good for any new players coming in to get a wholesome questing experience, or a bit more wholesome than, I guess, what a lot of us are used to, let's say. And I think overall this is good for longevity of the game as well, for new players coming in, as well as old players going back and re-leveling and trying to get new experience in World of Warcraft. I think this is a great change. Of course, I don't think there's a right and wrong here. I just think there's two sides of the story. Some people will say that, faster questing was more convenient for them, and I feel like that's totally legitimate in terms of their opinions. That's totally legitimate way to play the game. But the way I would want to play is more wholesome, more slower. I want to spend a lot of time doing a whole zone and completing it, having a reason to complete it, because I kind of need to, but also kind of wanna. I want to feel like my character has to kind of struggle even a little bit when it comes to picking some of the fights and some of the mobs, and maybe fighting a rare feels actually difficult, I am happy, I'm excited for this, but in the comments, guys, that's where it's all up to you. What are your thoughts on it? I don't think there's a right or wrong, as I said again. I just think it's just two sides of the same coin, more or less. Both are reasonable views, but which view do you stand with? And feel free to comment that down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see all of you in the next video.